Good morning, y'all. I'm going to wipe I think it was clear, but I'm going to wipe my camera off anyway. Y'all doing okay this morning? Let me turn my little GPS down so it don't bother y'all. So, y'all, I wanted to come on this morning. Happy Friday. I'm going to give a moment for a few people to join us. I'm not sure who we might get, but I'm going to see if I can get a few people to join in. Y'all remember I told y'all yesterday when I was doing that video. As soon as I went live, one of my girlfriends started calling just now. It's not going to be a good time. I'm going to have to call her when I get to my destination because I'm going to chat with y'all until I get there. So, it's Happy Friday, y'all. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I got some things to do before I prepare for the kiddos to come back into the classroom. And I'm just looking forward to getting back in the groove with you guys. Wow. So how's everybody doing? A few of you have been chatting with me and letting me know how things have been going in life. So I thank you for the emails and the check-ins, and thank you for those that have checked on me. Everything has been well. I just took some time to, sometimes when you are a content builder, you can get, it just depends on how your content is set up, but you can kind of get evolved in what's going on in the world that it can kind of become a little bit too much. And for me, because of the fact that I really do commit myself to the thought process of the videos that I create and what God really wants to say to his people, I have to sometimes go and just allow him to pour back into me. And for the past 2 months, I just took the time to be a mama. I took the time to just be an individual and really just allow God to speak to me, allow him to move in my children's life, allow me to bond with them a little bit more. For those of you that follow me on a regular basis, you know that my youngest son, he went off to college. And so I really wanted to spend some quality time with him over the summer, really pouring into him and encouraging him, speaking life to him, speaking into his ear as he's preparing to go off and be in a world where other people are going to be speaking into his life. And the possibility for him to not remember what has been sown. But then I have to go back to the word that it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And kind of that's what I want to talk about today. No matter what we go through in life, we still have the root of who we actually are. And so I kind of want to talk about this morning. Don't abort the promise because of the challenges of the process. Don't abort the promise because of the challenges of the process. Sometimes we get so consumed with the process that we forget about the promise. That's good. This might be more for me than it is for y'all this morning. Sometimes with the process, when we're going through things, if you follow my channel and you've been watching what has happened with me over the past year, and you watch how God has moved in my life and the things that have happened in the days that I came on. And there were some days that I came and I just had tears in my eyes because it had gotten so hard and so difficult. And about a month ago, I woke up one morning and I heard the Lord say, your season of suffering is over. This is it. You've done well. You have followed exactly what I've asked you to do. You have continued to be committed to what I promised you that I would say. You've trusted me in times that you thought that things were going to fall apart and you could have gone in a different direction, but you stuck right there with me. And I heard the Lord say, the season of struggle is over. Well, I want to say that to some of you. Your season of struggle is over. Sorry, but if you quit in the struggle, guys. If you stop mainstream, if you stop in the middle of the play, if you stop in the middle of the race, guess what happens? You abort the promise that is before you. And sometimes, especially in this current world that we live in now, I was thinking about how fast things are moving, how fast things are changing, how fast things are evolving, how fast, how quickly things turn over. It used to be, y'all remember when cell phones first came out, and the cell phone would, you'd be out and then they wouldn't bring out a new one for like 3 years or something like that. And now they're producing cell phones, every year, every 6 months. And there is a movement within the earth. It's almost like its own energy that is helping people to produce and move in those veins. The one thing about me is I've never been one to move at the beat of somebody else's drum. So even though I have this very laid back type personality and things like that, I typically am the one that speaks up in a meeting when there's a lot of negativity going forth. And I am typically the one that's going to say, no, that's not the right thing to do. That is not what we're supposed to do. Even if everybody else in the is going against it. And most times I'm going to try to hold that until I can't hold it any longer, because God has sent us into the earth to be a light to those that need our voice, those that need our shine. So if we give up the promise because of the process, we then not only just abort what God has given us for us, but we abort what God has given us for others as well. If you have been put in a position, so this word today is definitely to encourage somebody's spirit. If you have been put in a position where God is giving you gifts and talents, and He has given you the opportunity to come before people, even on this platform that God gives me as a content builder, this platform is not for me. It is not for any glory for me. It doesn't matter. I looked at my thing the other day. I have 302 subscribers. And I'm good with that, because if that 302 subscribers are people who have a lifestyle that they want to do something that is going to benefit the kingdom, it is going to make a change in the earth, then I am more satisfied with having 302 solid subscribers than to have 300,000 who really don't have any substance to themselves. And so when we look at what our promise is, we can't get caught up in the process. Don't let God give you a gift and you're sitting on it. And I'm speaking from experience. Remember, for those of you that do follow me on a regular, I've talked about how for a season I wouldn't even use my voice. I wouldn't even sing. I was so sad and so disappointed about what was happening in my life and how things were just falling apart. And I really had just given up on just the promises that I knew I should be living. Like, I couldn't even see in front of me, let alone a year out or 2 years out, or joy and happiness that was coming, because I was so disappointed in the sadness that I was living in. And so today, God will use me to speak life to you. He will use me to speak life to your circumstance. Use me to speak life to your children. Use me to speak life to your spirit. Use me to speak life to your business. You've been looking at it and you saying, Lord, I've been doing everything. I done maxed out my credit cards. I done used all my little savings and still ain't nothing happening. He said, hold on just a little while longer. Just a little while longer. I gave you the vision. Though it tarry, it might waver for just a moment. It will come to pass. And many of us need to write the vision. I'm a writer. I'm a writer by nature, but I get that from my mama. My mama used to write. She wake up in the morning and she have a note for you. I'm a writer. I send cards to people. I write special notes to people. I send texts to people. I'm a writer by nature. That is a very natural part of my process. So many things that are happening in my life, I wrote them down. And I said, Lord, this is what I need to see happen. And then I began to pray over it. And then I began to affirm it. And then even in the midst of the process, it's like I have to pull it out at those times specifically, because I was like, Lord, this don't look like what you showed me. This is not the road that I thought that I was going to be on. Because if you had really showed me this part right here, I don't know if I would have taken this assignment. And so for those of you that may be sitting in a place where God has anointed you to maybe preach the gospel, maybe God has anointed you to minister to the homeless, maybe God has anointed you to empower young people, maybe God has anointed you to speak life to marriages, maybe God has anointed, and then some of us have multiple gifts. I'm not one dimensional. And for those of us that walk in a 3 and 4 and 5 dimension anointing, it is difficult for people to understand when God is doing something in your life, because what he may have been doing on yesterday, he might switch that up and do that at a different time in a different place. Once that assignment is done, he's going to move you on to the next thing, because you have the capacity. That's good. You have the capacity to actually handle the assignment. And so some of us have taken our eyes off the prize of the promise, and we are looking and focusing in on the process. There's a song that I found recently, and if you guys, it's on YouTube, and you can look it up, and it's called Trust the Process. Trust the process. In it, she's talking about the things that are happening, but I got to trust the process. I got to believe that God is building a muscle in me right now that I'm going to have to use later on. I'm going to have to exercise that muscle at some given point, because he is allowing me to go through this. There is nothing that happens that God doesn't allow. And then there are some things, again, guys, we have to take our own accountability. There are some things that God allowed because we set that up. No matter how we look at it, we can get angry with him. I was mad with God for a minute with my second husband. I was upset. But when I really had to dig deep and go into my own prayer closet and say, Lord, what responsibility can I take from this? I had to take responsibility for the moves that I made in reference to that. And so that's why, when people look at me now and they say, oh, you're no better than anybody else. I'm not. But I'm also wiser than I was a little while back. Sorry, y'all, the sun is shining so bright. I'm wiser now. And so there are some decisions that I made some years ago, and not too far gone. Sometimes when people talk about their mistakes and their errors, they talk about it like it's so far back. No, I've made some mistakes that weren't so far off. And that is why I have the discipline now, because I don't want to keep experiencing that same thing over and over and over again. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get different results. And I'm not saying, because I want to put this plug out there, and many people don't talk about it. But you guys know that on my channel, for those of you that do follow me, I do see some comments coming in. I know that, okay, I'm sorry, y'all. There's somebody that's walking in the street. But I know that God has not given us the spirit of fear, and he has not given us a spirit to be able to be afraid of things that are before us. And even just now, I read a comment that someone put on the screen, and I apologize for that. That person is going to be blocked and deleted. But for whomever that is that's on this channel, I pray for you to come on the channel and you're listening to what God is saying right now, and you have the boldness to even type what you just typed in the comments. I pray for you. And I rebuke that spirit. So it does not change the word that is going forth. Obviously, you needed to hear exactly what was being said. So even if you wanted to put that in the comments and make that particular comment, you might need to hear this message more than anybody else that might be listening to it. And so when we look at those circumstances and those situations before us, we don't want to lose focus of the promise because of the process. Obviously, you are a part of my destiny because you are on my channel at this very moment. And maybe God is going to use this word today to then turn your mindset around about what it is that you just wrote on my channel. So when you think about things that are happening, we cannot walk in a spirit of fear. One thing about me is I ain't never really been scared. I might be humble, I might be laid back and all of that, but I ain't scared. Because guess what? If God is for me, then nothing that is before me can come against me. And if whatever season that it is for me to bear, I must bear it. I have to remind myself of that. And I think sometimes we forget about the human side of us that still goes through the process of understanding that God has given us a promise. But this word today is really just to encourage those of you that may be walking out a situation, a circumstance, a job, a business idea, pitch it to different people. I watched this one young lady, and I can't watch her channel a whole lot. She's absolutely gorgeous. You could tell financially she's made it really well. She does a really good job, but she cusses so bad in her videos that for me, it takes away a lot of what she really brings to the table. But most recently, she was talking about she had made it. I guess she was like a vice president or something of her company in some area, and she was obviously makes really good money. I could tell by the way her closet is set up because she gets dressed a lot of times in the space where she talks and does her content. And I could tell that her she's probably very financially stable. And she talked about recently she quit her job. And she quit the job because she went to volunteer somewhere, and someone at the job screenshotted her volunteering and told her CEO, I guess, that she had started a business. And she said, well, the truth of the matter is I had never even thought about starting the business. It had not been something that was on my mind. But when they called me into the meeting and accused me of doing it, they planted the seed for me to actually do it. And so she basically talked about how sorry y'all, I feel like these parking spaces be so tight. But she basically talked about how the position of what she was in, the process of what she was going through, being stressed out on the job that she was on and having all those pressures coming into her is what actually forced her to move into the place to actually start her own business. And so in the middle of her being off, she was actually off when she went to volunteer. They called her to tell her that, they felt like she was working, and then they had her to talk about whether or not the things that she was doing was in conflict with where she was. But my point to you is, what are you doing that God has called you to do? What are you doing in the process to continue to propel the vision that God has for you forward? Because sometimes in the process, we get stuck. That's the place that we want to stop. That's the place that we want to give up. That's the place that we want to maybe abort the actual vision. And we can stay, I'll tell anybody, the human portion of us, it is okay to be in a position where you have to, it's okay to be in a position where you have to make an adjustment. But it's not okay to be in a position where you give up. Because guess what? Whatever God has promised you, there is somebody else in the process that is waiting for you to arrive to your destination. They are waiting for you to get to your divine place. They are waiting for you to speak your divine word. Their process is dependent upon you being in place where you're supposed to be for your promise. So when we really think about it, I want you to be encouraged this morning, because this is definitely a word of encouragement. God gave me a scripture and I'm just like, oh man, he brought it back to my remembrance that the blessings of the Lord are going to overtake you. And when I say the blessings of the Lord are overtaking me right now, I done cried so much these past couple of days, happy tears. Cried when I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm crying because my heart is so happy. I stayed the course. And when you stay the course, see, the difference is oftentimes we get veered off, and that's okay as long as you know to get back on course. But oftentimes we lose focus of what it is that God is really trying to do in us. Because until you learn that lesson, until you are able to produce the fruit that he wants from that, you're going to have to keep repeating that. You're going to keep repeating that process over and over. You're going to say, man, it seemed like I just been here. It seemed like I just went through this. I just had this to happen. You did. But did you learn from the process? Did you grow from the process? Did you say, okay, this thing right here, I'm never going to do that again? Because that didn't work the last time. And it didn't work the time before that. And it didn't work the time before that. And so now this time, God, I'm going to really trust you. When I tell y'all, I have had to walk out days that over the past year, my little credit cards, I don't have a lot of credit cards. And I don't have a lot of high, what do you call it? Credit lines. But I do have a few credit cards, and they have smaller credit lines. But over the past year, if you've been following my channel, I had to, sorry, y'all, somebody else was calling again. Over the past year, I have had to use my credit cards, because if you follow my channel, I shared with many of you that last year I took almost a $20,000 pay cut to transition into teaching. I had to transition from one job into a job in the school system so that I could do my student teaching. But I knew that if I took that $20,000 pay cut, that eventually it would bring me back to an increase of about $30,000. So I took a step back to take a step forward. And when I tell you that when they came to offer me my job for this year and the pay that they sent back, it was more than enough. It was more than what I thought it was going to be. And that was not even with my current degree. That was not with the degree that I just finished. That was with the degree that I already had. So they said, when your certificate gets upgraded and you get moved up, we have what's called in Georgia. I don't know how it is in other states, but in Georgia, if you have a bachelor's degree, you are a T4 as a teacher when you're first certified. When you go back and get a master's, you are a T5. So you move to another category, which is another pay increase in addition to you get paid for your years. So they came back and they said, hey, we're not going to just pay you for your teacher years, but we're also going to give you a half point for your pro year that you were here. Won't he do it? He will. And then on top of that, bless my son. When I say over the past 60 days, and now I understand why I didn't have time to be building content, because God was building something in me. He was doing something with my sons. He was working out some things. But God opened up a door that when I tell y'all, I'm going to come back and do a video about that all by itself. I told my son the other day when I dropped him off at the school, I said, son, this is the place right here where you stop and you praise God. This is the moment that you know that everything you worked for, every time you got up every morning, that you got up while everybody else was sleeping, you were outside in the backyard hitting them baseballs, every moment that you have stood and you gone and met with your coaches and you said, Mama, I don't really have a lot of gas, but I'm going down here and cut Miss so-and-so and so grass because she's going to give me, $35, $40 for cutting her grass. And then I can put some gas in my car and go meet the coach at the batting cage. Every moment. Oh, yeah. So that baby right there, and he got up this morning to go take a test a second time because he did pretty good on yesterday, but he was about 8 points off from one class from testing out. And I thought he was just going to say, well, I'm just going to go on and take this other class. He said, no, if I'm 8 points away, I said, well, that's about 2 questions, maybe 3. And he said, 8 points away, why would I take one class when I really don't have to take that? And then I can go ahead and test out and take something different. That's grown man decision, adult decisions. But that's the seeds that have been sown in his life over time. You have to nourish the seeds. You got to believe that every seed that you have sown, God is getting ready to bring it back to you. I had to go and pull out a prophetic word that God gave to me, and it was 2023 when this pastor spoke this word over me. And I went to listen to it. And here it is, 2026, and it is just now manifesting. But every now and then I would go in and I would pull that every now and again. Yo, somebody trying to park next to me and it's gonna be tight for them, so I'm gonna move over a little bit so that she can get out of her car. Sorry, y'all. I didn't want to interrupt you guys, but the Lord is going to send exactly what you need. I want y'all to know that. I want you to know that he is going to give you exactly what you need. He is going to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you could ask and or think. And I can only tell you that because I'm living in the manifestation of it right now. I'm going to come back and I'm going to do another video, but this video is just to encourage you to keep going. This video is to encourage you. I'll come back and give you guys a video probably tomorrow morning, because I won't have anything to do tomorrow morning. But I'll come back and give you guys another video, and I'm going to tell y'all about how the Lord has blessed them. When I tell you get ready to run with me, because that's how we go. That's how we're going to talk about it. We're going to tell of the goodness of God and what God is doing for those of us that have been consistent to what he has asked us to do. Obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience. It takes discipline to be obedient. It takes discipline to do some of the things that I've done. It takes discipline to walk away from some of the things I've walked away from, because my flesh is weak just like anybody else's. But if you know my story and you know where I am, I understand that the blessings of the Lord are going to overtake me. When I think about that, I think about like a herd coming after me, like me running away, and a herd of horses or a herd of cow or a herd of something coming behind me and it just overtaking me. That's good. Anyway, y'all, I got to get in here. I got here early so I wouldn't be running, and I done been out here running my mouth with y'all. Anyway, have an awesome day. Know that the blessings of the Lord are upon you. Write the vision, make it plain so that when those that read it, they will run with it and God will bring it to pass. Love y'all. Talk to you later. Bye.